To put the talent gap between number 17 Army and number 6 Notre Dame into perspective, let's look back 2 weeks to Army's matchup with North Texas. With 25 players from Texas, including quarterback Bryson Daly and safety Max DiDomenico, the Lone Star State is the most represented on the Army's roster. However, none of these players were even offered scholarships by North Texas. It didn't matter though. The Army controlled the time of possession and won 14-3, marking the program's first 9-0 start since 1996. Now, heading into Saturday's game at Yankee Stadium, Army faces an even starker talent disparity against Notre Dame. Army coach Jeff Monken recalled a quote from his coaching mentor, Paul Johnson. "They've got 22 parade All-Americans, and we've got 22 guys who walked in a parade." Monken's team, though, has a mentality focused on execution. "Our guys have to embrace the fact that we have to execute our assignments and fundamentals at a high level," he said. "If we don't, we're going to get embarrassed." Even though the Army continues to emphasize one annual game above all others, the rivalry with the Navy, the upcoming Notre Dame matchup is arguably one of the program's most important in recent history. A win over the Fighting Irish would send shockwaves through the college football playoff race, throwing the Group of Five's automatic bid into chaos and potentially affecting at-large bids for Big Ten and SEC teams. For Army, a victory would snap a 15-game losing streak to Notre Dame, dating back to 1958. Despite the talent gap, the Army remains confident. "Notre Dame is a great team," said senior offensive lineman Lucas Scott. "They have a great tradition. They're not going to give us any freebies. We've got to do everything we can, fire on all cylinders every play, every snap." To defeat Notre Dame, the Army must execute a perfect game. The Irish have been dominant since a surprising loss to Northern Illinois in September, winning 8 straight by an average margin of nearly 32 points. A series of blowout victories has kept Notre Dame ahead of 2 lost teams in the playoff rankings despite only one ranked win over number 14 Texas A&M. "We don't match up physically," Monken said. "We've got to execute at a high level, do what we do, and hope that's good enough." Army's game plan is straightforward. Control the clock, force turnovers, commit no giveaways, and avoid breakdowns on special teams. They can look to the Navy's 51-14 loss to Notre Dame as evidence that this strategy can work. The midshipmen ran for 222 yards, the most Notre Dame had allowed in nearly 2 years, and averaged 5.4 yards per play, the highest of any opponent this season. However, the Navy lost the game due to 6 turnovers, which Notre Dame converted into 4 touchdowns. "Our big thing is, Army can't beat Army," said Scott. "If we don't commit penalties, don't miss blocks, and every person does their job on every rep, then no one in the country can beat us." Yet, with the overwhelming talent on the other side, there's no margin for error. The Army will need to play near-perfect football to pull off the upset. "It's a college football game, and they're all hard for us," Monken said. "Certainly, our guys recognize who Notre Dame is. This is the best football team that we've faced all season. They're one of the best teams I will have faced as the coach at Army." While the Army is focused on the present, Saturday's game could have significant implications for the playoff race and the Army's postseason future. "It's day-to-day here," said DiDomenico. "We haven't talked about anything past Notre Dame. Of course, people and the media see what happens. Regarding in-house, we're focused on the next game, the next day." Even if Army loses on Saturday, they could still earn an automatic bid to a major bowl as the top-ranked conference champion in the Group of Five, but they'll need help from Boise State to secure that spot. A competitive loss could keep Army's hopes alive, especially if Boise State falters. However, a win over Notre Dame would shake up the playoff race and serve as a nostalgic reminder of the Army's glory days, when they consistently competed for national championships, often at Notre Dame's expense. I assume the field is still 120 yards long, Monken said. Once the game starts, we're on the field, and we've got to play the game. It wouldn't matter where we played those guys. It's going to be a hard game to win.